Welcome to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I'm your host, Darrell Scott, and together we will dive into the lives and careers of the jazz legends who have left a rhythmic imprint on the world. Be prepared to reminisce on the highs and the lows of their musical journey and the trials that sculpted their timeless musical gems. We'll preserve the legacy of these extraordinary maestros and find inspiration in the melodies of their lives. Subscribe now and never miss a beat. Now, let's get to the show. Welcome. This is the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I am Darrell Scott. I told you a couple of weeks ago, the people that we get on this show are tremendous. I'll let you determine exactly the definition you want to use as tremendous, but right there is Kat Hawley. Kat, welcome to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm doing great. I'm on the last leg of my bronchitis diagnosis, so I'm doing well today. This is like the best I've been able to speak in about a week and a half, so I'm doing great today.
So this is good because we just heard Never Too Busy.
Uh-huh.
And now we're going to hear this, and you're going to continue talking. So we'll hear the singing voice versus the speaking voice. And me, I get that all the time. Can you talk like you're on the radio? I am right now. I really am. So this will be fun. This will be a good comparison. Thank you for being on the show. If her name sounds familiar, we interviewed her husband, Adam Hawley, who we're going to do another show as them being husband and wife. So we'll get the real dirt on each of them a little later on. I ain't going to tell you that much. But you're a singer.
Yes.
How long have you been singing? When did you start? Why did you choose singing? I know you're only supposed to ask one question at a time, but I'm going to ask three.
Well, goodness. I've been singing, I want to say, since probably age 9. A lot of people say they got their start in church, which I did. Of course, singing in the children's choir, all the way up to in high school, became worship leader. And then when I was also in high school, I started taking it very seriously. So I started doing professional theater at different professional theater houses in Los Angeles and Southern California areas. And I traveled with a professional gospel group, and of course went on to school to major in theater and performance stage arts. And I worked in a lot of different churches as worship leader and music director. And just kind of did a lot of corporate gigs, a lot of solo gigs with either like pianist, guitarist. And actually my husband and we met in church in 2005, and we worked together for a long time before we were married, while we were dating, and then even married in church together, as he was music director for certain choirs, and then I was worship leader. So that's kind of been our thing. We've always worked together in music in some capacity. And I think I knew probably at like age 10 that I wanted to do singing as a career. We were singing at school in chorus, and one of my favorite songs to this day, we were singing, and I said, oh my goodness, I think I sound really good. I think I can like do this when I become an adult, you know?
Right.
And my friend was like, yeah, you should do it. So I started doing a lot of different acting classes and vocal lessons, and like I said, professional theater. And I always was kind of a shy person, just really clingy to my mother and like my family, really shy to talk to people. But the arts really brought me out of that, and I'm no longer a shy person.
Okay.
So that really, really helped a lot. And when I was about 15, like I said, when I started taking it even more seriously, I started changing everything about my life to become a better vocalist. I haven't had any soda since I probably was 15 years old.
Really?
I don't drink soda. I don't eat dairy either the day before or the day of a show that I'm going to sing, because dairy products, they induce phlegm. So it would clog my throat and coat my vocal cords. And so just different things like that I really took seriously, because I knew that I wanted to do this for a living and be good at it.
I have a dairy story. I don't do dairy, but it's all because 112,000 years ago, I got a sinus infection, a really bad one, and I went to an ear,
Mhm.
nose, and throat specialist who perhaps did the most painful thing I've ever had in my life. He did
Oof.
a biopsy of my nose, and he says, "Dude,
Oh.
first of all, you have a spur on your septum." And I'm thinking,
Mm.
I can carry that short. That wouldn't be a problem. He goes, "No, no, no. There's like a bone. We'd have to like saw it off." I'm going, "Okay, I'm
Oh
not
my.
doing that."
Yeah.
But every time I had, my big thing was banana split blizzards from a place out here we call Dairy Queen. So
Mhm.
good, so good. But I got really sick, and I don't mean sick physically, but my nose clogged up. It was tough
Yeah.
breathing and all that sort of stuff. And he said, you need to stay away from dairy. So I haven't had, I drink very little milk, very, very little
Mhm.
milk. And then I found out other things that were dairy related that I just don't do. Um,
Right.
it converted me to tequila because beer has the hops in it, and the hops are bad for you. But
Uh-huh.
I just stayed away from it.
Yeah.
And I think once you realize that your voice can be a vehicle, it's tough to take care of it. It really is. You don't yell and scream, and I'm
Right.
sure you don't yell and scream, especially at your son's basketball games. But that's a whole
Oh.
nother story for another interview. Um, but try not to yell and scream. Try not to do
Mhm.
this. It's I don't
Well,
recognize myself when I wake up in the morning and I'm like, whoa, who's that voice? I don't know
I
that
know.
one.
And
Um,
it's particularly hard before a show, especially if we have meet and greets before a
right,
show, or if we run into people before a show. And I just have to explain to them, I'm like, I'm so sorry, but I can't talk right now.
right.
you know, I try to save my voice for the show. After the show, we can talk as much as we want, but it's very hard.
So do you have a routine pre-show of getting your voice ready? Do you? I can't remember who I talked to, but they had like Janice Siegel. I
Hmm.
have like a half an hour thing that she goes through to get her voice ready.
Hmm.
Uh, do you have such a ritual?
I do. And it just varies on where I'm at and how I'm feeling that day, and like the weather and how long the show is going to be. So a lot of the times I try to do vocal warm-ups in the shower. And I like to do it in the shower because I have the steam,
Steam.
and so it like really gets into my lungs and kind of softens everything and relaxes it. If I don't do the steam shower, then I turn the sink on really hot, and I turn the shower on, and I'll close the bathroom door for like 20 minutes. Then I'll go in, and then I put my head over the sink, and I use a towel and I wrap it all
Right.
around to enclose it. And then I'll just kind of do like a steam bath in my lungs for like 10 minutes or however long I could stand it. And that really just clears everything out. Like I said, it relaxes the muscles, and then I'll warm up. I always have my Ricola. I travel with these everywhere I go.
Cola. Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
get them from Costco. I buy bulk at a time, and they're all over the house. They're all over my purse, my bags, and I'm just sucking on those religiously. And it's the honey kind, because I
Right.
love the way that it feels on my throat. And I'm an avid tea drinker. I actually enjoy tea more than coffee. Adam is the coffee connoisseur. Um, and so I travel with a portable kettle I got from Amazon, I don't know, for like $25. And so I just plug it in wherever I'm at. It's about this big, and put my own water in it. It heats the water within a minute. And there's always usually, like coffee cups or something in the hotel room.
Right.
So, and I carry my own tea bags everywhere I go. So, that's my routine.
Try try eucalyptus tea or peppermint tea. It's really good.
Yes, I
I've
love.
used that. I've used that for years. One of the things in doing these shows and interviewing artists, you find out, um, what do I want to call them? Idiosyncrasies that each of you have. And I
Mhm.
think that's always neat to find out because sometimes we feel as though your life should be just like mine. But
Hmm.
I realize it isn't. And I think other people want to know, what do you do for this? What do you do to train your voice? What do you do? I asked Janice Siegel, I said, hey, so if you get sick, what happens? And especially in that four-part harmony thing that they do. And she goes,
Yeah.
yeah, we've learned to cover up. Somebody will pick up more of my part, or I pick up more of somebody's part. And
Right.
I find that, how do you hear that? So I'm not your typical concert goer. I'm not. Because number one, please don't take this the wrong way. I don't go to
Hmm.
see you. I go to
Hmm.
hear you.
Hmm.
And I went and saw David Sanborn at a show in Akron, and I sat on the very last row up against the wall because I wanted to hear him. I don't get me wrong. I don't need to see David. I don't. I need to hear David and hear the music and hear all of this. And it'll be the same thing with you. I want to hear. I want to hear the little idiosyncrasies that you have and things like that. Speaking of this music career, and you're going to hear this again later on. You have an unfair advantage. And what I mean by that is that guy you've married. He, at what point did you decide to do music and then have him maybe assist you in the production of a song, the writing of a song, or anything
Hmm.
like that? Or was this barrier of like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this on my own? Um, when did you decide to incorporate him into your musical career?
um, well, I think it was the other way around first, because we did, even though we worked together for a long time doing things, we also did a lot of things separate.
Hmm.
When he started doing his own music, his solo career, at one of his shows, he said, "Oh, you should sing a song." I said, "Okay," because he wanted to record a song with me for his album. So he said, "Let's do that one," which is Love Song, which is on his first album, Just the Beginning. So we did it and it was great. And he's like, that fit so well in the show. He's like, okay, next show, let's do 2 songs. So 2 songs. And he's like, oh my gosh, the flow of the show is great. The audience loved you. He's like, we need to incorporate more vocals in the show. And then it also was very unique because, a lot of the times at contemporary jazz shows, there's not much vocals.
Right,
And same thing, if you go to a vocal show, there's, hardly ever instrumental, like an
right.
instrumental song or interlude or something like that. So it really pieced together well. It kind of came together very organically. And then, 9 years later, it's kind of a thing where if he books a show, people are like, okay, well, Kat's going to be there, right? And
Oh
he's
yeah,
like, what am I, chopped liver?
right.
And so it just really developed and formed great in the show. So when it came time to, we were just talking one day and was like, oh, you should do something of your own, because at shows during the meet and greet after the shows or before the shows and the merch
Hmm.
table, people would say, okay, where's your album?
Right.
And I don't have one. So it was kind of a demand thing. People were asking for it all over the world at shows. And so we did kind of brainstorm a lot of things and kind of were starting the beginning pieces in like 2018, 2019. And then 2020 happened. And of course, like everyone else, our lives kind of shifted
Mhm.
elsewhere for that time being, for 2.5 years at least for us. And when we came back to revisit it, um, we said, okay, what do we want to do? What do we want this to be like? And I'm, how everything happens like in the timing it's supposed to
Right.
happen,
Hmm.
because the music and my brand is just completely different from what it would have been in 2018, 2019, because clearly I think just like a lot of people, I'm a completely different person after
Right.
2020,
Hmm.
you know? And so I'm just so amazed at the space that it's in right now, and like what we developed and like what the brand is right now. And that kind of happened organically as well. Him kind of being input in all of my music and the project. He didn't ask me, I didn't ask him. We kind of just sat down and started talking about it. But in hindsight, I feel like I would not hire anyone else because he knows me well and we work together well. We worked together, since I was 17 years old, and he definitely knows what he's doing. He's a perfectionist at his craft. He's incredibly talented and knowledgeable, and he has the track record to prove it, not only with his own music, but other artists as well. And I'm definitely his most difficult client.
Okay.
I remember when we were working on my first single, Never Too Busy, and we're working on edits, and he goes, I've given you about 10 more edits than I've given everyone else. And I was like, okay. So another thing that I want to fix is I'm like, and I'm also such a perfectionist. So when we're recording, I want to do like take after take after take, 20 takes. And he'll say, no, that's enough. He's like, the first take actually was fine. Like, we didn't have to do all this. Mm-hmm. So we just work really well together. And I trust him wholeheartedly to make sure that it's going to be right, And so I wouldn't have it any other way, really.
Would it be, do you think there will ever be an opportunity for you to work with someone else? Would you like, we get in our comfort zone, we get comfortable, we do what we do, but every now and then you need to step out of that just to see what can happen.
Right.
Might you do that?
I don't know. I mean, I've thought about it. Of course, when we're recording and we're getting on each other's last nerve.
I want to be in one of those recording sessions. I really do. I want to be there. I want to be a fly on the wall.
And so, I do think about it. But like I was just saying, the proof is in the pudding, because I hear other things that people do and it's either not my style or I just don't like it, and things that we've worked on, I'll say, no, I want to change this. I don't like it. Or things I hear for the first time, I love it. And, we also, co-write with other people. So we do a majority of writing, just the two of us, but we have other artists and writers that will co-write and produce with. And so we do get influence from other brains and kind of meld it together. And so I think that really helps too, of not kind of getting stuck in one lane. And I think it's fun for him too, kind of, because my sound is very different. It's definitely smooth. Like,
right.
We're definitely in this smooth category, but just my vocal sound is very different. My lyric deliverance is very different. My performance is very different. So I think it's really cool that we kind of have a lot of different aspects kind of coming together to make my sound.
When we talk about your sound, I want to play this next track, which is called Rather Be. Folks, let me tell you something. This is going to go to the top of the charts. And now it makes me wonder, has there ever been, and this is something I bet we'll all look up, has there ever been a husband and wife team that has the number 1 and number 2 song on any chart? As I try to, my feeble mind, I try to think of, husband and wife coordinated or that was out there at the same time, and I can't think of anybody. Right. So this might be the first one. And I'm telling you, this song, I heard it, I heard it again, I heard it again, I heard it before we started this, and I'm going to hear it again. Ladies and gentlemen, on the Jazz Flyte Podcast, this is Kat Hawley and Rather Be.
Champagne's gold, the wine is good and old, but I don't want
That is rather be. Y'all gonna like that. I cannot lie. Y'all gonna like that. You're gonna remember this lady's name.
Oh, thank you.
Not a problem. What is it? What's the feeling you get? This will be your first, and I'll say hit, for lack of a better term. What's
Mhm.
the feeling you have as this song comes out? It gets played. You're driving down the street, and it comes on the radio or it comes off somewhere. You're at somebody's party and they play it. Describe your feeling.
Well, I haven't had the advantage of catching my song on the radio before.
Okay, this will be the
um,
first one.
I've heard my husband's, even though it is getting radio airplay. I don't have the stations in the other states that they're being played in,
Right,
and
right.
you know,
Hmm.
still one day hoping for that watercolor play. But no, when I get feedback from certain people, like, oh, I heard your song on the radio, or even when I get my weekly chart status of like how the song is doing on radio and on the charts, it just feels so I guess gratifying would be the word. And you really don't know what to expect.
Right.
And so everyone comes at it very differently. Some people specifically write songs because they want it to be a hit and they want it to be on the radio.
Hmm.
And some people specifically write songs because they want it to sound a particular way. And for me, I just want to make really good music. I think for me, not saying that my job is harder than any other artist, but um, I definitely want to put my stamp, with my own name and gain like respect and recognition, because there has been a lot of times where people will just look at me like, oh, that's just Adam's wife.
Right.
Or I
Yeah.
had people tell me to my face, like, oh, when he said that you're in his show, I thought, oh, that's nice. He's incorporating his wife. But then you come out and you're actually really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, thank you. So I really wanted to just, you know, kind of say what I had to say musically, and say, I am my own artist, and I am talented.
Hmm.
And so I just really want to make great music, and that's like my first goal. And I'm just ecstatic for whatever comes its way. And I've been just very blessed and fortunate that my music has been heard and people really like it and that it's getting played. And I think that's kind of just a bonus, because just being able to create something and putting it out there that's going to be like essentially forever, and people listening to it, even if it's 10 people, or 100,000, um, you know, not a lot of people can say that. And so I'm just really happy that I've put something out and that I'm proud of.
It it is in the short time that we've talked. I appreciate your humbleness. I guess
Thank
is the
you.
word I'm looking for. It is it, and I'm going to use a broad brush here. The smooth jazz world, contemporary jazz world, whatever you want to call it,
Hmm.
is full of people who are humble. They appreciate you. I think I told you, I sat in the back listening to David Sanborn, went and talked to him after the show. And he's like, dude,
Hmm.
I didn't see you. I said, David, I'm in the back row because I want to hear you.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and goes, thanks. He goes, because that when you say things that they want to hear, they're so appreciative.
Right.
Um, and I think that's what it is. And I think that's what it is about this music, is that it is so, you can use it for so many things. I talked to Nathan East a month or so ago. He has a song called Mediba.
Hmm.
It's on my iPod, which is right there, when I work out. And it's just a great song to work out to. It serves so many, I'll call them silos. You can put
Hmm.
it here, you can put it there, you can listen to this, you can listen to that. And sometimes there's a vocal track that comes up and you're like, and we're not playing it. Why? The radio stations aren't playing it. Why? You
Right.
need to play this. So it's that kind of thing. And I just think asthma aside, you got a great voice. You have a great
Thank you.
presence.
Thank you.
And I think that's what is needed. We need to stop. There's so many people that, here, look at me, look at me, look at me. I don't want to look at you. I just want to hear you. That's all I want to do. What is, you obviously have worked with other artists other than, what's his name? I can't think of his name now. Adam.
That guy.
That guy. What do you gather? I mean, I'm sure you get a lot of information, a lot of guidance from him. But from the other folks, what are you getting?
When I work with them on stage?
Yes.
You mean like learning and picking up?
Learning and picking up stuff.
I definitely learned what not to do. I definitely learned what not to do because I am very observant. So I watch and I listen a lot. So, I watch if somebody handles a certain situation, and, I watch how a promoter or staff will respond, and vice versa. I watch and listen with how things work, with radio and getting books for gigs. And it all works the same way, but everybody navigates it very differently. And so you really just pick and choose. Like, do I want this response or do I want that response? I know how it works with that person, and definitely really just how to, I guess I've always been very poised in the entertainment industry, on stage and with people, but definitely, I'll say this, and not to like put myself on a pedestal, but when I say I learned what not to do, sometimes people don't give their fans the proper attention or even a certain conversation or respect. And I see how that person responds. And I say, I don't want someone to respond that way to me, So I make sure to not do that. And so that's, a learning curve. I've actually learned a lot from other artists, with social media, and Jasmine Gent being one of them. She's a good friend of both Adam and I. And she has a great social media presence and following. And so I learned from her, she does a lot of forefronting. So she'll already have an idea of kind of what she wants to post, even if she's not working necessarily, she's still putting posts up, and it could just be anything. And so I love that with her. So I've learned a lot by just watching her and kind of just talking with her. Adam is great, my husband, with social media as well. Whether he's working or not, he's posting. For me, I go through cycles. I'll post every single day for 20 days. And then I'll go 7 days straight with nothing. And it's just really hard. I tell people I wear a lot of hats. I'm an artist in my own now as Kat Hawley, but then I've always been a working vocalist with my husband, touring with him. And then when I come home, I'm still a wife and a mom, and my own person. And I have friends that I have to schedule in coffee dates with, and laundry and cooking and cleaning our dog. So I'm I do wake up and say, oh, I'm going to post this today. Then when I look up, it's 3:30 and I'm oh, well, I got to take my son to practice. I'll do it in the car when I'm at practice. Then something happens. I'm oh, okay, I'll do it at home. I get home, I start cooking,
Yeah. It's, as I say sometimes, this thing called life gets in the way.
Right.
And if you are not, I would say computer savvy, or social media savvy, it's more than a notion. Before we continue, this is not me asking you. I always think sometimes this titles are always being literal. Here's another song of yours called "Can We Dance?" And I don't mean you and I. I'm not getting in trouble, okay? That's the title of the song. Folks, take a listen to "Can We Dance" by Kat Hawley on the Jazz Flyte Podcast.
Round your neck, my hands go. Now we're in a flow. It's a lover's glow. I can put on a show for you. It's you, the only one I see.
Can We Dance? Not us, but that's a song by Kat Hawley.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes being silly is the greatest thing in the world.
Yes, it is.
This is the Jazz Flyte Podcast. Kat Hawley is our guest. New stuff coming out. Tell me about what's about to happen with you. What can we expect from you?
Well, since my album just released June 21st, I just got my vinyl in, which is really exciting. Vinyl takes almost double the time to process than a CD. Mm-hmm. So I did get my CDs first, and then it released digitally on all, downloading and streaming areas. And then finally my vinyl came. So my vinyl is now available that I can sell at my shows and also online. You can also get it on Amazon. So that's super exciting. People were waiting for that. And as a new artist, I've had 3 shows of my own with my performing my new music from my album Tonight 8. So 2 of those shows were just on this most recent Dave Koz cruise that we sailed out of Athens. And then I had another private show that I did here in California in Newport Beach. And I just got booked on the next Dave Koz cruise, the Soma cruise, which is sailing out of the Mediterranean in September. And so I'm really excited about that and performing my own music. And it's so funny because everyone now asks, they'll say, even, fellow musicians, they'll say, so what happens if you get a show booked and then Adam has a show booked? Like, what are you guys going to do?
Yeah, right. That's my next question. What do you do?
And I said, we just have to split. And our 15-year-old son actually asked that too. He's like, so what, you're not going to sing with Dad anymore? He said, no, I'm still going to sing with Dad. I said, listen, I only got 4 gigs booked right now. I'm not, on an 85 date tour like Dad.
That's a truly interesting question. What happens when he's supposed to play New Jersey and you're supposed to play Los Angeles?
Yeah. Yeah, well, we just have to go our separate ways on that account. And it's so funny because so many people are used to seeing us together for so long. So my 2 shows that I did on this past Dave Koz cruise in April, May, the show was titled Kat Hawley featuring Adam Hawley. And we don't make our own show names, they title our shows for us. So people are like, well, what's that going to be like? And so Adam says to the audience, I've worked so hard to get to the front from the back. He's like, now I'm just back in the back.
You're back again. Yes, that's nice. But don't get me wrong, I will look forward to that.
Thank you.
I think it's a credit to both of you that you can each have your own separate show, so to speak. He's not performing for you and vice versa. How can our folks follow you? How can our folks keep up with she's going on a Mediterranean cruise? So.
Yes, well, definitely on my social medias. I know I just said that I need to do better with social media, but especially when I'm traveling, I'm always on social media. So you'll be able to see everything behind the scenes, like sound check, on the road, in the airport, and then of course like videos from the show and whatnot, or even me getting ready. So on Instagram, my handle is Kat Hawley Music, and Facebook is Kat Hawley Artist Page. If you go to my website, simply kathawley.com, it'll take you to everything that you need to go to, all my socials, any of the streaming, downloading series that you want to go to. And you can also sign up on my emailing list on my website as well. So it's Kat Hawley. Hawley is spelled Hawley. So you can find me all in one space there.
All right. Kat, this has been wonderful. I like this. It's
Thank you.
And I'll say it this way. It is good to see you in your beginning.
Thank you.
I think the ceiling, past the ceiling, is your limit.
Thank you so much.
And it'll be good. You can see people, but sometimes you want to see them from the beginning to where they get to. And this will be an excellent journey. Whatever you got new coming out, please let us know. We'll put it on our social media. We'll get it out to all our fans. And I think we're going to talk again on like kind of a different level, but we'll talk about that. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I'm Darrell Scott. That is Kat Hawley. Once again, thank you very much, and we will talk to you all next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I hope you enjoy these stories and soulful melodies that grew through the doors of time. If you want to stay connected with the latest updates and episodes, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Until next time, I'm Darrell Scott.